See, security, when we talk about firewalls, we speak a lot about security. But we can secure a network by tuning a switch. So it's not only a firewall's duty to provide security. Switches can be configured, routers can be configured with proper security features. So we are going to focus on how can I configure some security features to mitigate attacks. We need to see how attack is possible through layer 2 features and how I can mitigate them. Can anyone answer me this question? Attacker is attacking. Can you explain this? When we say attacker is attacking, it means he is sending a packet which does some damage to our network. All packets are going to have those 7 layers. The 7 OSI layer that we learned will be there. When packet enters our network, meaning what? Enters into our wires and devices. See, if for every LAN there is going to be a switch. So traffics are going to enter into switches. And then routers. If you recall that architecture, we always have 3-tier architecture. Access layer is the place where we have lot of switches, and this is where we connect all the device. End devices. And the switches are connected to multi-layer switch here, which is distribution layer. Access layer, distribution layer. This distribution layer is connected to core. Now, like this access layer and distribution layer, many will be connected to core. So when we say attacker is attacking, actually is attacking through one of the access layer. He enters from the internet through one of the access layer in one VLAN, internet VLAN, and he enters into our network. When you put the mitigation, when you have a security right on the entrance, you're protected. Instead of doing on layer 3, layer 4, you do it on layer 2 itself. If you have proper security on switches, easy. Switch security is very easy. If you put right security feature, if you enable, configure the right security features on the switches, there will be less load on the firewall. Tell you. Switches itself will stop major attacks. So we no need to simply wait for firewall to come and intervene and stop. Right in the layer 2 itself, you can identify and stop. For that, we need to know what all type of attacks possible and how a switch can prevent in a layer 2 level. That is what it means understanding switch security issues on a layer 2. You both told two answers, and the answer is right on the screen only, your answers. You said denial of service. That is service loss. And you said data getting stolen. That is data theft. You see here, this picture explains what I explained here. Last 2-3 minutes. We have switches, see the left hand side, devices, switches, routers, firewalls. We have access layer, distribution and core layer, DMZ and edge layer. Maximum threat can be identified and stopped in this switches access layer itself. See, on access layer we have these type of devices. We have wireless hub, wireless router, access switches, hubs. So mostly we have these type of devices in access layer. And these devices, if you see, wireless is vulnerable. The switches are vulnerable. But switches can be configured to stop attacks. In wireless also, you can put different type of authentication. We can prevent. These are the 4 major classification of attacks. Attack based on MAC address. Attack based on VLANs. Attack by spoofing. And few more switch-based device attack. Later we will see. So we'll see this one by one. First of all, MAC layer attack. Using MAC address or based on MAC address, what all attack is possible? This is one of the example of MAC-based attack. MAC flooding attack. Switches maintain a table, and the table is called as MAC table. MAC table will have some limit. Every table, even routing table, will have limit. That limit vary from series to series, device to device. High-end switches may accommodate more MAC address than low-end switch. What I'm trying to say is it's not unlimited. MAC table has got a limit. Just for example, I'm taking 500 MAC address. I'm just taking as an example that number 500 because we don't know. You need to see the data sheet for knowing how many MAC address that particular switch can accommodate. It varies. 500 MAC address, let's say, that's the maximum capacity. That much only they have allocated memory for MAC address in that switch. What will happen if all 500 MAC addresses are already learned and a new MAC address, a packet from a new device, which is 501 to MAC address, comes to the switch. Usually switches listen to the incoming port and learn the source MAC address. Do you all agree with me? This is how we started our switching topic. In CCNA, we learned that switches listen to the incoming frames source MAC address and it learns the MAC address into the MAC table. I told you already 500 MAC address is learned. Now 501 MAC address is coming. What will the switch do? Will it learn the MAC address? No. Why? Because there is no space. What will happen to the communication? Communication will happen, but MAC address will not be learned. When MAC address is not learned for a device, what will happen? What sort of communication will be there? Flooding. You remember, we saw when the MAC table do not know the destination MAC address. When the MAC table don't have the MAC address information of the destination device, the packets will be flooded on every port. On every port. The packets will be flooded on every port. This is dangerous. Even though the switch is an intelligent device, we say switch as an intelligent device because it learns the MAC address and it won't flood all the time. It forwards the packet to the right destination on the right port. This all happens only if MAC address is learned. When there is no MAC address, switches start functioning like hub. Switches starts functioning like hub. Hub only will always flood. Usually MAC table won't get full. Only when MAC address is full, this problem. The vendors, they design the switches in such a way that you will not run out of space in the MAC table. See, when we buy a switch, we tell our requirement, according to the requirement, they give a switch. And that switch will never get full if you use in that environment for which you purchased. They don't run out of MAC address table. Then when will this happen? When attacker floods or when an attacker sends traffic with MAC addresses that he generated. See, here attacker is sending packet, but not with one MAC address, different MAC address. Attacker is sending packet. First time he sends with MAC address A. Next he sends the packet with X, Y, Z. No. New MAC address. This computer with a software generates for every packet a new MAC address. When the packet approaches this port number 3, the port number 3 will start learning the MAC addresses. Because they are new, it will learn all the MAC address. When a packet approaches the port will listen to the incoming source field. If the MAC address is new, it is going to learn. Now this attacker is filling the entire space that is given for MAC table on the switch by flooding numerous invalid source MAC address. This will go and consume the entire space. Now when a genuine MAC address comes, see, when normal traffic comes in, there is no space in the MAC table to learn the legitimate MAC address. As a result, the switches will start flooding out the packet on all ports. This is an attack. Switch should never do this, and switch won't do like this. This is abnormal. I told you the MAC table won't get full in the normal circumstances. Here, attacker is intentionally going and occupying the entire space in the MAC table, entire memory of the MAC table. That made the switch to behave like hub. Switch started flooding out. So there will be a lot of collusion now, because switch always floods. When it always floods, it causes collusion. Network performance will go down. Slow network. Not only that. Because it is flooded, every packet will go to all the devices connected to the switch. You see, why did attacker do this? So that when the legitimate A talk to legitimate B, he can spy. He can listen to the conversation. Because it is flooded now, everyone can listen now. MAC flooding attack. Did you understand what is MAC flooding attack now? Is there any question? Any question? For this attack, what is the mitigation? What does mitigation means? What is the prevention mechanism? How do we stop? What is the prevention mechanism for MAC flooding attack? Anyone has got any guess? How can we prevent this? By default, a port can learn any number of MAC address on a port. Why it is configured? Why it is set by default like that? Because sometimes we will be connecting a port to a switch, and switch may be connecting to tens of devices. All the MAC address of these devices need to be learned on this port. Yeah, on this port. That is why by default there is no restriction to learn any number of MAC address on every port. There is no restriction. But when we know our topology, when I know that this is the only port I have trunk, this is the only port connecting to other switch. When I know that very clearly, what I should do, I should go to other ports and set limit. I should set limit saying only one MAC address per port. This is what called as port security. That's what our Sarona was telling. Setting limit on the ports prevent this attack. When I enable port security, a security feature called port security, that particular port will learn only one MAC address. Let's say X. Attacker is just connecting to port 3 and he's sending the very first packet with X MAC address. It will learn X. When the attacker send another packet with another MAC address, the port will get shut down automatically. Automatically it will get shut down. Problem solved, you see. When I enable port security, only one MAC address, because I know very well I have connected a computer. A computer will have only one MAC address. But when the second MAC address comes, it is an attack. How can a computer send second MAC address? A legitimate computer won't do that. A genuine computer won't do that. So when an attacker is sitting in the place of a genuine person, when an attacker is sitting, switches easily identify it and shuts down. You see, port security can do this. Port security is one of the Cisco feature. All Cisco switches have got this. Port security is the name in Cisco. Every vendor will have similar to this. Name will be different. Concept is same. Cisco calls it as port security. Now, what if I have some virtual computers inside this? VMs, VM1, VM2. Now, in this port, how many MAC addresses are expected? 3 MAC addresses. One from this VM, another from this VM, another from this computer physical. When you enable port security, only one MAC address is allowed, but you can tell port security that I have 3 MAC address expected. What I'm trying to say is you can set how many MAC address are expected. You can do this for each port. You can go to one port and say I'm expecting 10 MAC address. Another port you can say I'm expecting 3 MAC address. When you don't say how many, it is going to be only one. When the MAC address exceeds, here the word exceed is not used, violation is what the word used here. When the violation happens, what is meant by violation here? Going more than the limit. When the violation happens, when the number of MAC address goes more than the configured number, the port will shut down. Attack is prevented, you see, the port will shut down. Now, we have said 3 MAC address, right? We also have an option to say which 3 MAC address, meaning I can bind the MAC addresses on the port. I can say these 3 MAC address only I expect. See, after you set MAC address number 3 MAC addresses, what if an attacker connects his computer to this port? He disconnects this wire, he connects his computer. Then he will have access. So to prevent that, I'm going to say these 3 MAC address 1, 2, 3. Only if these 3 MAC address you allow. So what happens when an attacker comes? He just comes with only one MAC address, but still the port gets shut down. Why? Allowed MAC address is 3 and only this 3 is allowed. Attacker is sending 4th MAC address, even though he's sending one MAC address, even though this PC is not connected. This is a new MAC address, which is not in the list. The port will get shut down. In short, what I want to say is port security can also be used to bind the MAC addresses to the port. See, port security restricts port access by MAC address. Unauthorized MAC addresses are denied. Now, next is when violation happens, by default, it is going to shut down. But we also have other 2 actions. If you don't like this action, shutting down, you have other 2. For example, this is your switch 1. And this is switch 2, where port security is enabled. In this port, you have said 15 MAC address I'm expecting. Because I have, let's say, I have 14 computers plus the switch MAC address. Totally 15 MAC address is expected there. But when the 16th MAC address comes, what will happen? This port will go down. When this port gets shut down, even the genuine members of this switch will be denied communicating. I repeat, there are 14 computers talking to beta. I have set port security limit maximum MAC address 15. But one person here is a notorious. This notorious guy, he is running a tool. And now that is sending 16th MAC address. Immediately it will go down, shut down, denying even the legitimate, genuine communication from reaching beta, which is very bad. Only this person did mistake. Why should others be stopped? Why should others get stopped? You see, this port security now create a denial of service, which is not okay. In such situation, you can go for any one of this option. It is not going to shut down. It is going to restrict. Meaning it will ignore the 16th MAC address. Protect is it is not going to it is not only going to ignore the 16th MAC address packet. When I say ignore, what does that mean? It won't allow the 16th MAC address traffic in. It will drop. It will drop. It won't allow the 16th MAC address packet enter into switch 2. Only 15 is said, 16th comes, I'm not going to allow. That is restrict. Protect is, I'm not only going to deny, I'm also going to increment the violation counter. Incrementing violation counter, what it will do? Incrementing violation counter will generate logs. So in the log, administrator will know why this log has come. What problem is going on? The administrator will know very clearly there is a 16th MAC address coming in, and this is that MAC address. He can even see the MAC address. Protect mode not only protects our network from the 16th bad guy, it also generates a log with the bad guy's MAC address, and it also says how many packets came from this bad guy. That violation counter will be maintained in protect mode. In restrict mode, no violation counter, but attack is prevented. While all this 15 MAC address is communicating, only the 16th MAC address packets are getting dropped. That is restrict. Switches silently drop the attacker's packet. Attacker will not be successful in communication. Administrator also won't be knowing that attacker is trying to communicate to beta. Attack is prevented with no account. In protect mode, attacker is prevented, plus administrator knows that an attack has been tried. Someone has tried. An attack was tried and mitigated. Right? So you can set how many MAC address that port security should allow. If you don't say, the default is 1. You can also specify which MAC addresses, what exact MAC address is expected. And you can also change the violation action. The default violation action is shutdown. You can enable restrict, can enable protect depending on your need. The difference between restrict and protect is protect will generate syslogs, not syslog, logs. With violation counter. Restrict will simply deny the packet coming from attacker, but no account. Enables port security and specifies the maximum number of MAC address that can be supported by this port. That's the syntax you see that the command can do all this. So how do we configure port security? First thing is enable port security. The command is switch port security. Remember, when you enable port security, the port should be in any one of this mode, access or trunk mode. When you enable port security, on F01, this F01 cannot be in mode auto. No, this should not be auto mode. You need to put it in particular mode, access or trunk. After which you can enable port security. The command to enable port security is switch port security. Simple. Under the interface, if you just enable port security, this is the command to enable port security. If you just enable port security without mentioning how many or what violation, if you don't mention all this, which means you just enabled port security with maximum limit of 1 and violation action is shut down. Right? Any question? Port security. I'm going to do and show you. You should try at home. We are going to configure port security on this port F01 and F02. You see? Interface F01, I'm saying switch port security. You see, it's not accepting. Why? Can anyone say why it is not accepting? Command rejected. Why? Yes, we need to put either access mode or trunk mode. I'm saying switch port mode access. And now I enable port security. Done. Let me show you show port security. You see, port security is enabled only on this port. So far, no traffic, no MAC address on this port learned. And security action, if any violation happens, it is going to be shut down. Action is shut down. Oh yes. Now let me also enable port security on F02. Switchboard mode access, switchboard access, sorry, switchboard port security. Now let's go back and check again. Show port security. Port security is enabled on these two ports with the default. Yeah. Now let us try communicating. First, let me add some IP addresses. 10.0.0.1 IP config, and on this 10.0.0.2. IP config, and on this 10.0.0.3 IP config. Now I'll be able to ping ping -t 10.0.0.3. You see the ping is going. One MAC address allowed, so it's going. Check now, show port security. In both, you can see current MAC addresses count is 1. Allowed is 1. See, maximum secure MAC address allowed is 1. And currently, that 1 is already occupied. There is also another command, show port security MAC addresses or addresses. Addresses. So these are the two MAC address of those two computers. F01 dynamically, I did not give the MAC address, so it is dynamically configured. Yeah, dynamically configured. Now see what happens when I put the third method, this computer. I'm going to this computer and say ping -t 10.0.0.3. This ping is not going to happen because there is no wire, but as soon as I connect the wire, it will shut down. I repeat, as soon as I connect this computer to the hub, the packet will go to the switch and this port will shut down immediately. You see, immediate red here. Now you see, the interface changed state administratively down. Now say port security, show port security. You can see one violation happened. So the port has gone to shutdown state. How do I know? Because the current MAC address is 0 and it is show IP interface brief now. You can see F01 is down. To know more details, you can type this command, show interface F0/1. Yeah, enter. No. Show port security interface F01. Correct. Use this command. It will tell you the current status with respect to port security. You see, port security is enabled, but current status is shut down because the violation mode is shut down. There is one violation happened. That is why it is shut down. Now the genuine guy also cannot ping. So to avoid this, what we can do is we can bind the genuine guy's MAC address and we can enable restrict or protect mode. Restrict mode will only deny this bad guy coming in, while this genuine will be pinging. Protect will increment the counter with the logs. Let me do and show you. I'm going to disconnect this wire. Now will this ping now? No, it won't ping. Once it is down, you have to go inside to bring it up. To bring it up, you need to go under the interface. Once you have to manually shut down and bring it up. That's the procedure. Just saying no shutdown will not bring it up. You have to shut down once and then bring it up. Now it will start pinging. It started pinging. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable protect mode. And I'm also going to bind the MAC address manually. Let me show you how to do that. You know this MAC address. This is the MAC address on F01. I'm going to copy this MAC address. See, right now it is showing dynamically configured, but after I bind, it will say static binded. Let me do that. Switch port security, MAC address, this one. It says because it is already having no, it says like let me shut down once so that it will forget what it has learned already. And now I will put. Okay, I need to refresh. Or I'll do one thing, I'll cancel port security and put back again. No switch port security. And now I'll say switch port security and switch port security MAC address. This one. So still the table exists. Clear port security on. Now go and configure. Yeah, come on. Still there. Clear MAC address table. Now go and try. Clear MAC address table, clear port security, all. Oh no. What I'll do is I'll disconnect the wire, configure, and then connect. Then it has to immediately forget. Show port security, no MAC address currently learned. Show port security addresses, no, see it has got the address. This need to be refreshed. Clear port security addresses, port security, dynamic. Still it is there. This need to get out of this memory. Clear port security, configured, show MAC address table, show port security addresses. Oh no. Interface F0/1 shutdown. Takes a lot of time to. This command is not working. It should clear actually. Let me show it on a fresh switch. It's a simulator, so it has got limitation. We'll use fresh port instead of fresh switch. I'll use F03. I'll use F03. All right. Okay. Now on F03, I'm going to enable port security. Interface F0/3. Switch port mode access. And then switch port security MAC address. This one. Port security not enabled on. Okay, first I have to enable port security. Switch port security, and then just again, yeah. On that port we have the same MAC address. I can do something like this. I'm showing another way. There is a command called sticky. What a sticky will do, it will stick the MAC address which is currently there. Okay, now I stick the MAC address. It is as equal as writing this. All right, and we will go back to the same port and we will use sticky method. F01. I don't want F03 now. That didn't serve my purpose. So we go back to F01 and we are going to use the command sticky. Sticky means I am not going to give the MAC address, whatever comes, just take. Okay, no shit. Now the ping will be successful. Wait for some time, the ping will be successful. All right, so now let's go and check the table. Show port security. You can see one MAC address is learned, and when you see address, it will show dynamically configured. And when you say show run, you will see the MAC address ticked. It should even show the MAC address here. I'll do one thing, I'll reboot this switch. Reload. Now it has to behave proper when I reload. All that is in the memory will go off. Okay. Now let us say show port security addresses. There is no address, but I said stick whatever comes first, and now you will see that address getting sticked. (01) dynamically configured and show run. I'm expecting that MAC address to appear here. Oh no, I put the command on F03. Sorry, I have to put it on F01. That's why it didn't come. Interface F0/1, switch port security, MAC address stick. Okay. Now I'll get the desired result. Okay, this one is dynamically configured, and now when I say stick, it will stick. It will stick here in the running configuration. It will come now. I'm expecting that it will come. The MAC address will reflect here. Let me reload again. So what I'm trying to say is when the MAC address is ticked, it is written into the memory. Next time when you reload, it will expect only that MAC address to communicate. Any other MAC address, it will shut down. Show run. I'm expecting the MAC address to appear here. See, secured sticky. It's not dynamically configured. This time it is very clearly says, I am securing this port only for this MAC address. Only this MAC address is allowed. I sticked it. And now if you go to running configuration, you are seeing that MAC address. So even if you reload, this MAC address will stay in the NVRAM. No other MAC address is allowed. Only one MAC address, and it should be this MAC address. Okay. Now what I do is only this MAC address is allowed, right? I disconnect this cable. And we know one MAC address is allowed, but I'm connecting some other MAC address. One MAC address, but not that exact MAC address. So again, it is shutting down. Though it is one MAC address allowed, because it's the wrong MAC address communicating, it will shut down. Right. So you can try something more. You can have more MAC address. You can try restrict. If I would have put violation action as restrict, it would have not shut down. Yeah, let me show you that. Now I'm putting back the right one. And I have to shut down once and bring it up. All right, this communication will happen, but meanwhile I'll go here and say switch port security, violation action. I'm going to say protect. Show port security. You can see that on F01 we have said the violation action is protect, not shut down. Now this ping is going to happen. You can see that. Wait. Okay, the ping is happening. When I add the second person, it will not shut down. See, it's not shutting down. But this guy will never be able to make it. Not possible. He will never ping because the packet has been rejected coming from unauthorized MAC address. And you can see that violation counter here. Show port security interface F0/1. I have put protect. Sorry, restrict only will increment the violation count, not protect. Protect will simply protect. I changed now. Protect will simply protect. Restrict only will generate log. So I'm going to change the mode as switch port security. Violation action restrict. Restrict will show you how many packets violated. You see, so far 2 packets are violated. 2 packets from this PC. And now, as time goes on, it will increment. See, 3 packets. But it is still allowing, see, 4 packets. So remember, protect will simply protect. Restrict will increment the violation counter. 6 packets. It will even show which MAC address is violating. This is the MAC address that is last MAC address that was coming in. Violating MAC address. If you have logs, syslog or something, you will see exactly this computer's MAC address there. All right, I want you to do some exercise on this. Whatever I have not covered, you can try doing that by putting question mark. You can go to protect mode and do something, increment the MAC. See, if I put two MAC address, both will be allowed now. Let's say interface F0/1, switchboard port security, maximum command. If I say 2, then this guy will start pinging. Wait for it. See, it started pinging. Both are pinging. Right?